Hey there, guys. I'm Bobby.
I'm Stephy Steph.
That's right, and we are on location. We are walking. I guess we didn't say we're between two teeth. We're walking around Dallas. We like to be mobile, so we're on the move with this version of Between Two Teeth. Steffi Steph, what I wanted to talk about, you just wrote an article on Substack about values. What encouraged you to do that?
Well, for me, a lot of the decision making in life, it stems off of a value-driven life. And I was talking to a colleague on Friday about purpose and values and meaning. And so kind of heavy conversations, of course, for a Friday, but that kind of got me thinking. And you start to look at the decisions you've made and the consequences from those decisions, and you really start to appreciate values.
Speaking of decisions, we're walking around, and I always get lost in downtown Dallas. You were actually fantastic at navigating. I get lost down here, but I guess that's kind of what's that called when you're like, well, it's windy as the dickens here. It's like, well, which way should we go? Which way should I go in life? And I really liked your article, how you talked about values in how you were raised, values that you attained from your parents or certain schools or institutions or coaches, versus when do you figure out, is that serving me well or is it not serving me well?
Yeah, that's well said. And when I look at my own values, I always, and this is where it gets kind of nuanced, I always look to people, other people or establishments or whatever, my parents, coaches, teachers, to give me my values and to tell me how to lead life, kind of. And I think that can work for a touch of time, but Bobby, what happens as you grow up?
I don't know. I'm still trying to grow up, I think. But one of the things I like that you talked about, Steph, is being a people pleaser and how that sort of came into play.
Right. So when you're a people pleaser, it's you try to mirror the values of the person you're talking to, and you try to real quickly assess what does this person find, hyper important in life, and how can I please them the best by aligning with those values, even temporarily. But what happens is it's okay to have or embody someone else's values, even if you go, oh my gosh, I love that idea. That sounds great. It can fall apart, though, when you're challenged in life. And what I found is the values of others were great when the decisions and the consequences were small, but as they got bigger and bigger, it started to change. You really want to have values that, I don't want to be dramatic, not that you would die for, but that you're really impacted by.
And I think I like what you're saying there. The other issue is figuring out when do things serve you well versus when are things not serving you well. And if you're efficiently moving through life, you should be learning things from your environment. And if you're kind of stuck in a spot and you don't fully understand, how am I moving efficiently through life? Did what I did 15 years ago, is that serving me well? What's an example, or what was the crux that kind of made you say, maybe are you saying you're too much of a people pleaser and that didn't serve you well?
I've had friends tell me to my face, you're too much of a people pleaser. and I look at them and at the time I just didn't appreciate it. I might have been early 20s at that point. But here's the rub. If you're an athlete, coaches want people pleasers. They want, yes sir, no ma'am. Same thing with teachers. They want you to challenge, of course, but at the end of the day, a team has to share values. And so one of the things I learned, I had 3 big decisions for me, kind of going through it. One was the decision on which sport to play and where. And I defaulted to kind of what my parents thought. And I had teachers that would give me opposite or alternative opinions on it, but I couldn't hear them.
You loved playing soccer and you were told to run.
Well, I love playing soccer, but I enjoyed winning. And so it's hard to win at soccer when you're 5'3". It's not impossible, and I know several amazing women who do it at the professional level who are my height or shorter. but it's definitely the exception and not the rule. I looked at the lay of the land, and my odds were higher with running for what I wanted to do with it. But yeah, it comes down to decision making. Do you want someone else to make decisions for you? Then yeah, you better obtain their values pretty quick so you can align with them and go. But I think there is something independent, and there's something about fulfillment in deciding what your values are going to be at some point in life. You really start living your best life, I'd argue, when your values become a little bit clearer.
Yeah. I think you run into trouble when decisions are made that are not consistent with your values. And I think what I hear you say is, hey, maybe hit the pause and reevaluate, what is your value system? Is it yours, or are you doing it just because that's the way you were raised?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Oh, good.
And here's another finite point. Some people have said, well, Steph, if your values differ from your spouse or your friend groups or your parents, what happens if they're in staunch opposition? I had a friend I had coffee with last week, and she talked about how her values, although she shared several with her family, some of her values, like playing sports and expressing herself in that way, were very inconsistent with what her family thought she should be doing. And, when we were talking, I could tell there are inherent challenges when you differ in values with someone you love and someone you're not going to cut out of your life. That's where communication comes in.
Probably talking it through and figuring out why you do what you do can be a positive thing indeed. So, well, I'm glad you wrote that Substack article. You are very creative, and you really dig deep into some things that kind of touch your mind and touch your heart. How can people find Substack? I don't even know how to do that.
I don't even know either. I just started.
Just research it. Figure it out.
Just Google it, as my generation would say.
Our subscribers, they're brilliant. They'll figure it out. But just watch for things. Follow us on YouTube, Between Two Teeth. Follow us on Instagram at B2Teeth. And check us out.
Thanks, guys.